applying for child nutrition dollars for your kids. We've also seen a lot of districts, frankly, a lot of the ones complaining, not only have massive carryover funds, which are funds they're saying we're going to carry them over to next year, they have millions of dollars in carryover in their child nutrition programs. So we've been telling them when money is earmarked for child nutrition, there's really no reason to roll those dollars over and not make sure every kid in your district is fed when those are earmarked for those things. So those are some of the things when you talk about some of those dollars that are awarded, making sure that they're getting where they need to get.
Superintendent Walters, just clarifying,
Yes,
if some of these federal dollars go away, which I realize now they're coming maybe directly to the state, possibly, I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know how all that
Good
budget
question.
is being rolled to us.
Sure.
Is that going to, those programs that are out there that are actually part of this 317, I'm assuming that that number would possibly decrease if those federal dollars came to the state and the state chooses not to roll that back out in nutrition dollars. Is that possible, or is that, how is that going to play into these that are already receiving those dollars?
I appreciate this question because I've heard a lot of misinformation going around the state about the Trump administration's cutting this, the Trump administration's cutting that. They are. They are absolutely cutting programs that don't benefit kids directly. And what they have said is, I talked to Linda McMahon just a few weeks ago about this. The goal is to get the money to the states to use appropriately. So what we've done is we already submitted the largest waiver in the country for our federal dollars. And one of the top goals is not only to feed every kid, to make sure that every kid is nutritiously fed. So you're going to see us continuing to work towards nutritious meals in schools. Again, I mean, to say I'm inundated with it is an understatement. Parents want to make sure their kids not only are eating, but are eating well in schools. The Trump administration is dedicated to that. So as they're cutting and providing more flexibility, their goal is to give us the dollars directly so we can make local decisions as a state on how to spend those funds. And for us, that would be a top priority. So I would say no matter what happens in those type of cuts programmatically, we will always put an emphasis on making sure the kids are eating and eating well in the schools and making sure that these dollars are going directly to the classroom, to the students. Continue to decrease administrative costs at the local level. So again, that leaves more money for merit pay for teachers, tutoring programs, summer school programs, child nutrition. And so these are all things that I think need to be prioritized. And I believe with the cuts, with the waivers being issued by the feds, we're going to see more opportunities and more conversations with this board of, okay, with this new waiver, we can now spend X amount. Where do we want to spend it? And so I do see more opportunities in the future with that.
Superintendent Walters, and if this is questions about, I've been getting a lot of questions from people. I know a lot of schools have been working to increase the number of school lunches that are paid for.
Sure.
But I've been getting questions about the numbers, and if you want to finish your opening remarks.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Wait,
No, you're fine.
Do, but the first letter you sent out said, if I believe there's a $300 million administrative cost, is that?
In one of the buckets of administrative costs, yes, sir.
Okay, so. And then the letter you said we need an additional $42 million in that letter for school lunches. It would fund school lunches for everyone.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
So, and then you said a 6% cut to that amount would pay for that. But I just looking at the math, 6% of $300 million is $18 million.
Got it.
But that's not 42. So I didn't know what the discrepancy was there.
Sure. Yeah, I'll pause and you keep asking questions, but to just, if they would spend the money they have for child nutrition, we don't need the full $40 million. So they are sitting on child nutrition dollars that they are not spending that could be spent for child nutrition right now. So what I would say is, as you're getting a record amount of funding, why are you sitting on the dollars we gave you for child nutrition right now, rather than paying for the kids? If you actually prioritize all those dollars there, then you can look at what's left and cover it with administrative costs. Is that?
Yeah.
Superintendent Walters, while Board Member Tenney's gathering some thoughts, one of the things that I had was kind of wanting to spoke to, I believe, your CEO Mueller. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I had actually tried to contact you a couple times to get this information, but I do appreciate him calling me back. Where is documentation, and where can I point people to go to see these dollars that you're talking about that are carryover dollars? I've had several people ask me, well, where is he getting that number?
Right.
And I don't know where to go look inside
Sure.
the state system
Sure.
to go find that, to validate that. Where can I tell constituents and
Sure.
citizens hey, this is where this is where those dollars are at, and
Sure.
you can see it in the budget.
Absolutely.
So that they can see it for themselves.
Yeah. So we'll give you the link. So all of these numbers we're citing is the numbers provided to us by the districts. As you know, when they submit an OCAS report, they show you where they're spending all of their money. They also show you, if they're not going to spend all their money, how much is going over in their carryover account. So these are their numbers. So when districts say, where do they get these numbers? Well, they gave us the numbers. So hopefully those numbers are right, unless we need to do a full audit of their district, because that's what they gave us, number one. Number two, yes, sir, it's all online, so we'll make sure to get you that information where, again, they can click on it. And again, if we need to do, and frankly, if people think that those numbers aren't right, then we need to audit the district. And that's part of this budget process that they do every year, whereas you guys know, and you'll hear me talk more about this as accreditation moves forward. Accreditation, frankly, I would describe it as it's a year-long process. We're constantly, hey, do you have this? Get it to us. We still need more information. And then eventually, that will all come to you for a vote of our recommendations of, they didn't meet their accreditation standards. They did, but they're missing this. So that will be, I'm trying to remember, I think it's March or February, sometime in there. But so that is ongoing right now. But if there's any concerns, and by the way, we get a lot of this from parents and teachers across the state that say, hey, we've got a concern about A, B, or C. Well, then we have our accrediting officers go, hey, we've got questions about this. Is all the documentation kosher? Do we need to do a deeper dive? So if there are any questions, as you all see that, kick it over to us. And again, we'll send it to those officers that, again, a lot of times we'll reach out to a district and it's like, oh, well, we'll provide you, we've got the documentation for it. And sometimes it's not, man. Sometimes it provides a deeper dive. As you all know, when we take a trip back, Tulsa Public Schools, it started with a lot of parents blowing up our email boxes of, this doesn't make sense. These numbers that they're talking about, we have all kind of issues with these. So we started a deeper dive. Obviously, that's unraveled quite a bit in the last 2 years. So any type of concerns around those things, happy to do. And so we'll make sure that you have those numbers. But also, if you guys get anything where you go, hey, this seems strange, somebody wrote me this or whatnot, we try to instantly move those over to those officers to start the conversations with the district quickly.
Okay. Superintendent, if I'm wrong, I got these numbers. There's approximately 700,000 students in Oklahoma. Is that about right?
Yes, sir.
And according to what I can find, about 60, maybe a little more than 65% are already on free and reduced lunches.
Correct.
Which leaves about 245,000. So they go to school 165 days a year. So if that 245,000 represents the ones that are not getting their meals paid for right now, times 165, that's 40 million plus students' meals. And then if you add the cost of the meal, which I've found is around $4,
yep,
that's 160 million that would have to be additional money. So I don't know where that jives with the 42 million. That's what I was trying to see on my calculations.
Yeah. You're not including the grant programs. So again, we've got millions of dollars that come in for specific programs, for specific schools. So when you look at all of these things, and this is where we're getting into a back and forth. Look, we've got districts that are working with us privately to get it done. Again, you're seeing these announcements come out almost daily of districts that are getting there. We're going to continue to work with them. But I will tell you, I don't have a lot of patience for districts that just throw their hands up and go, yep, nothing we can do. Sorry, we've got, hundreds, thousands of kids here. We're just not going to feed them this year. They need to be working towards solutions. And look, if they want me to come in and look at their budget with them, we can knock this out in an hour. But we can find the cost and the record amount of funding they've been provided to make sure that the school lunches are provided.
Yeah, I've been, and I'm sure you have too, notified of some schools that are crying foul on the numbers that say, hey, the numbers, like I know there's a letter sent out from schools that had all this money in reserve they could pay for lunches, and they said, no, that's not accurate. That's plus whatever money we do have has already been budgeted for the year coming up because it's past the July 1 where the new fiscal year starts. So, are those people just making up those numbers? Are they wrong? Or
Yeah.
Not being.
Yeah, they're gaslighting the people of Oklahoma. And I know that
Hey,
the,
decorum,
hey,
please.
hey, the
Hey,
wo-
this is a public
yeah,
meeting,
yeah.
please.
Yeah, the woke peanut gallery doesn't like that, but listen, here's the deal. They have millions of dollars in carryover funds. We have put those numbers out there. They are sitting on a lot of money. They are sitting on a lot of child nutrition money. They have grown administrative costs to the highest level in state history. That should come down regardless. Regardless of whether they're putting it in child nutrition funds, they should be putting that into teacher pay. They should be putting it into tutoring. They should be putting it into teacher recruitment efforts. So the administration spending is going to get under control, number one. But number two, these districts do not want to take a hard look at their budget. As I talk to families across the state, they all do the same thing when they get their budget. They take a look at the money they've got, and they prioritize, our kids are going to eat, our kids are going to do the programs that are most important to them, and then you look at what you got left and you make decisions on that. It's unfortunate that some districts didn't budget that way. And so we are telling them they're going to go back and they're going to look at those budgets. We have an entire staff here that's willing to help them. We will help them if there's any programs they're eligible for that they haven't, for whatever reason. We will help them when it comes to looking at their budget and prioritizing these things. But districts have a record amount of taxpayer dollars. They need to prioritize the kids and not their administrative cost, and we're going to hold the line on that.
Okay, I mean, as I understand it, they have to have that carryover to carry over into the first 2 or 3 months of the year before they start getting more money from the state. So they have to have that carryover, and it's already budgeted, it's already into things. So I guess, and I've talked to some of these superintendents, and they are very much concerned about their kids and their kids getting lunches. It's just that the numbers are way off between the State Department and these schools, and I'm just
It's their numbers.
pointing it out.
The State Department's numbers are their numbers. If the numbers are wrong, then we need to audit their district and figure out why they turned in bogus numbers to us.
So,
You've got that. And then just to take it back,
Okay.
they get a minimum of $13,000 a child. That money, now they like to put it in a bucket, and they like to do this, hire this person, start this program with it. But what I'm telling you is when the taxpayers paid $13,000 for a child to go to school in Oklahoma schools, it is absolutely appropriate to make sure that $400 of that goes towards their student lunches. And that's what we're going to continue to push on these districts, and we're going to continue to work with them to find solutions. But I believe we've absolutely, and they can say that, and that's fine, but they obviously haven't prioritized the kids in their budgets the way they should, and we're going to continue to hold the line on that.
All right, thank you.
Superintendent,
Yes, sir.
a bunch of numbers have bounced around, and we're not going to solve all of this right here, but if you could have somebody on the finance side send us a reconciliation of this, because from Mr. Tenney, I heard numbers that I'm familiar with, 700,000 total students.
roughly.
I think it's a little less, could be a little more, but, and 65% of those are already, based on the criteria, fit into the free lunch. So that's down to 245, I think you said, all except your math is right. So that's at $4.50 per meal, which sounds reasonable. That's 1,102,500 every day to feed those additional 245,000 kids. I think the required number of days is 180, but of course everybody doesn't
Roughly, yeah.
end every day. I think you use 165, so that may calculate the absentee rate. But so we'll say 165. So if you do the math, that's $181 million that would be required to fund free lunches. So I would just like somebody at the department to do that math and provide that to us so we understand.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't see the letter that you're referring to, but 42 is a big difference from 181. So I'd just like to understand that.
Yes, sir. And then the other important, yes, sir, I understand completely. And the other thing we've got to add in there are the federal programs that pay for entire districts' meals. And again, they've done that for some of the biggest districts. We're talking Oklahoma City, Tulsa, others. So again, to give you the full picture, once you add that amount in, of course, we're talking about the two largest districts. And of course, I can't remember off the top of my head how many are in those programs. But again, that brings the cost down too. So happy, we can give you guys a good one-pager on it. So here's the different funding streams. Here's the amount of districts into these different funding streams. Here's the bottom line number. Happy to organize that. And again, if there's something else too, I mean, again, just keep the conversation going where if there's something we leave and there's another we can just add it to that and just.
And that would be perfect. I would appreciate that.
Absolutely.
The starting point, if you could start at the 700,000 kids again.
Sure.
If you run the math that we just ran through, that's 519 million to feed all kids all year. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to start at that.
Sure.
And then
Yep.
from that, tell us how much of that's provided by the federal government, how much, how that breaks down, which would leave the gap of 181 million.
Yes, sir.
And then so if you could provide that, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I have one last question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is one of the programs you're referring to the CEP?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was not familiar with that. I was only familiar with free and reduced, so I was only familiar with free and reduced. So just kind of researched that and found we have 846 schools that are on that program currently. But I have a question because I did not find it on there. Can a state as a whole apply for that particular program? So they apply for the entire state rather than individually?
It would be possible, but we're not eligible with kind of our numbers, our demographics. But theoretically, you could, but we don't hit that threshold.
And just so others know, the free and reduced is.
And by the way, you're saying schools. By the way, she said 800 because sites can do it. So we have
Right.
some districts where it's
Not districts, it's
the
actual
junior
schools.
high is eligible, but the high, so that's why the 800 number.
Correct. So free and reduced is based, parents have to apply for that, fill out an application. CEP, basically, this district does it or the individual school does it, and there's no parental application. It's based on the percentage of people in your area that are on SNAP, I believe. Is that
Yes,
correct?
Correct. So that way, yeah, then the parents don't have to get the paperwork. It's just the district is eligible. So, yep. Okay, I'm just making sure. Okay. Couple of other updates I want to give you guys before we move forward. We have been very clear on, we've seen concerns across the country and what some states are doing in education. The two that were flagged for us were California and New York, as they've continued to adopt standards and requirements on their teachers that run antithetical to our standards. For example, California is now requiring teachers to teach that there is no difference between genders, between the sexes, between male and female. So what we have moved forward to do is to say, if you're coming from these states, you will take a test through the State Department to show you align to our standards. You're not going to come in here and teach that there's 27 genders, there's boys and girls, that's in our science standards. You're going to come in and you're not going to undermine American exceptionalism by teaching anti-American, anti-Semitic hate. So as states are now requiring, these left-wing states, teachers to do things that are so antithetical to our standards and Oklahoma values, we want to make sure, as we are recruiting the best and the brightest in the country, that they align with our values. And so that is a test that we're working on right now with Prager University. We will be rolling that out shortly, I predict in the next 2 weeks or so, to make sure. And by the way, as we see what other states are doing, we're looking at about 7 or 8 other states right now that are moving in that direction to have some dramatically, crazy requirements on their teachers. We want to make sure that the folks that we're recruiting in are going to align with our standards, agree to teach what has been passed by the board, what we've required of our teachers. The parents of Oklahoma expect that. So that is an announcement we made a few weeks ago, and we're going to continue to work forward as we bring teachers in, that they're the highest quality teachers, that they are masters in their subject matter, they're good at working with kids, but also they align with Oklahoma values. So we're going to continue to.
Superintendent Walters, is there currently a methodology that's used to determine that current Oklahoma teachers meet that standard? And if there is, what is that?
Good question. So it depends. When you take in a teacher from another state, what we do is we give reciprocity.
But I'm not talking about teachers we've taken in. Let's say somebody is teaching in Oklahoma for 20 years, born, raised, went to school in Oklahoma, teaches in the school district they grew up in.
Yep.
Is there a methodology that we're monitoring what they're doing And if there is, how is that different than what we're doing with teachers that came into the district last year?
That's a great question. So in the state, when you go to one of our colleges of education or apply through an alternative ed program or through an emergency cert program, you go through and you take a battery of tests, right? You take the certificate, and we talked about this a little bit last board meeting, but you go through those tests. Then when you sign your teacher contract, what you are agreeing to is when you teach a biology course, for example, you are agreeing to teach those standards, which is why the standards are so important. So then what happens, now how do you ensure that? How do you ensure they're teaching the standards? That's part of the accreditation process. So when we accredit districts, they are required to, who's teaching what? Are they teaching the standards? Have they agreed to teach the standards? Are there any issues in regards to that? I mean, if a teacher was to say, I'm teaching biology, but the state of Oklahoma told me to do this, I'm not doing any of that, I'm doing this. That's where we would address that in the accreditation of the school district. So that's how we currently operate with inside the state applicants, teachers. But inside the state, once you pass the exams, if there's not a problem that's flagged, you're moving forward. If you signed a contract, you've passed the test, so you're moving unless there's an issue flagged at that point.
So I thought I heard you say, maybe I misunderstood, that part of a teacher contract, I'll say every teacher's contract, although I don't know that they're the same from district to district.
Sure.
But part of that requirement is to teach to the standards adopted by the state. Is that
Correct.
accurate?
That is correct.
So why would that be different depending on where you were educated, where you taught last? Why would that not be enough?
To teach that there are 27 genders. They've required you to do that in that state. You've taught there for 10 years. When you come into the state, before we let you into a classroom with Oklahoma students, at a baseline level, you should be able to agree and show that that's in fact what you'll do. Remember, the teachers of Oklahoma passed all these exams. So they went in and not only said they would, they passed the exams here locally. We have a current practice that says we will reciprocate with other states based on your certificate. Well, now we have states giving out certificates that say you're going to teach there's 27 genders. Well, that's a problem. Because now as you come into our state, instead of just saying, well, that certificate, the standards are close enough that we'll get you there, right? We'll move you from where you are to where Oklahoma is. Well, now you've got states that are going this far over. We've got to determine, can we get you there? Are you this far out that you're not going to teach these type of standards moving forward? And again, the test is going to be very straightforward, very matter of fact, should be very common sense. But as we're seeing the radicalization of some of these blue states, before we bring them in Oklahoma, we want to ensure we're not bringing in people that are going to be antithetical to what this board, what the state of Oklahoma has asked of its teachers.
Well, I understand what you're trying to do. I would just caution the department to ensure whatever they're doing passes legal muster.
Sure.
Because it sounds like we're on the edge, and I don't want us to cross over that edge. So please make sure that you have a legal opinion before you proceed with any testing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Superintendent Walters, is there not an agency already in the state that's under the Secretary of Education that monitors that or monitors this type of process?
That monitors the teacher certification process?
The OEQA, yes.
We have an agency that gives out the test that then we award the certificates for. So we ultimately are the awarder of teacher certificates here at the agency.
But do they not already, that is not, you believe that that does not fall under their jurisdiction and their protocol to handle that? Is that correct?
No, ultimately we determine who gets a teacher certificate.
Okay. Thank you, Superintendent Walters.
And then I've got,
No, would any such tests come through this board first?
no. The last update I've got for the board is we're very excited. We've heard a lot of positive feedback. We are happy to bring the American Virtual Academy into the state of Oklahoma. They are a new private school that is focused on promoting patriotism and American values into the school system. We are going to partner with them to make sure that parents know how they're eligible for the program through our school choice options. Oklahoma, we're the most school choice-friendly state in the country. We believe that parents know best for their kids. We believe in promoting American values and patriotism in our schools. So to see this school choose Oklahoma, want to come to Oklahoma, want to be eligible in Oklahoma, was exciting. So they are now eligible. We want the parents of Oklahoma to know we're going to continue to do our best to ensure our public schools are the best in the country. But we're also going to make sure that if you choose another option, those options are available to you. The school choice programs are eligible for every Oklahoman. And we want our parents to be able to ultimately make the decision on what's best for their kids, whether that's a public school, private school, charter school, home school, whatever that looks like. We know that every kid's different. God created every kid in a unique way. And we want to make sure that every parent has the most opportunity to put their kids in the school that meets their needs. So we were very excited to be one of the first states in the country to bring this school in. And so we're going to continue to look at avenues to, again, improve our public schools, but also make sure that parents have choice, parents have options. And so we're very excited about that announcement as well.
So is that going to be a virtual charter school? Is that how that?
It's a private school, so it's a virtual private school.
Okay, and does that not fall under the virtual school board?
No, that's a charter school. Yeah, that would be for charter schools.
Okay.
Superintendent Walters, from my understanding, just from reading, that this particular school is not doing well in Arizona. And I'm curious, would that come before the board for approval to enter into an agreement with them?
Okay, first of all, I'm sorry. I know you said you were reading some of the press. And unfortunately, the press has got this, a lot of the press, maybe some of them haven't, but a lot of them have just gotten this blatantly wrong. This is not a school, the same school in Arizona that they've been referencing. This is a private school that is starting up, that is a newer school, that is in several other states, but they keep connecting it to another school. This is a different school with a different mission, completely different missions, completely different setup, completely different governance structure. So we're very excited about this school and its opportunity to come forward, and they're eligible already in the state. So any parent that wants to pursue that option can. Any parent that wants to pursue the school choice options can do that and move forward with it.
But entering into a partnership, I'm asking, would that come before the board?
No, sir.
Okay, can you provide legal reasons why that would not come before the board? I'm asking our board counsel to please provide that. And I would also like to ask for legal counsel on our legal or documentation on why help me out here.
The test would not come before this
Yes,
board.
I would like to see why that would not come before the board as well, please.
Absolutely. We've already got all that, so we can get it to them.
Yeah, that's something I'd have to research on.
I understand. I understand that, but if you could just send that out to us, that'd be great.
We'll give you one more assignment, I'm sorry, but as I understand the statutes regarding at least a tax credit going to people who opt out,
Sure.
that is only applies to schools within Oklahoma, as I read the statute. So I don't know how. It looks like it would take a legislative act to be able to bring other schools in.
No, they have an address in Oklahoma as well, so they're eligible.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so that leads kind of to my question. They have an address, but they're not actually physically here in our state. Is there not I'm not doing this correctly, I don't think. Okay. Is there not an Oklahoma school or company that could provide the same thing? So we're not having to seek that out of state.
So, and I know that you all are appointed by the governor. The governor's been very clear in all of his directives that he wants as many school choice options in the state as possible. So I would also, you may want to have a conversation with the governor who's put this forward to say he wants more school choice, more private schools in the state. So what we're going to continue to do is pursue the best options for our parents. And ultimately, the beauty of school choice is the only people that go to these schools are the people whose parents decide to put them in the schools, to enroll them in the schools. So this is up for a parent's decision. We're going to continue to provide them the options. We're going to provide them the information. We're going to provide them transparency and all of those things. And then ultimately what we want to do is go, parents, and again, you got to remember, I sent all my kids to a local public school. That's the decision we made. But again, if somebody chooses to do something different, what we want to do and what we've continued to do to all parents is go, listen, if you want to homeschool your kid, that's great. I can give you hundreds of anecdotes of people that love homeschooling their kids. We want them to know these are eligible ways to get a tax credit to help homeschool your kids, private schools, et cetera. So we're going to continue to make sure that parents know their options. We bring options to them so that they can ultimately make that decision. But again, I'm a firm believer, I believe the governor's in the same boat, those have been his public statements, that bringing in more options, putting more power in the parents' hands to ultimately make the decision, not only provides, I mean, we can go down the road of competition and everything else, but it empowers parents in a unique way. And so that's what we're going to continue to pursue.
And I'm thinking that was misunderstood. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to other choices. What I'm opposed to is that if we have a company locally, being a small business owner in this state, I'm very pro buy local. So my question more is that wasn't there somebody within the state that could provide the same thing?
That's up for a parent to decide. They're going to have options, and again, if a local private school wants to provide these opportunities, that's great. That's what we want to continue to encourage, is again, that's part of the whole marketplace of school choice. Somebody's doing a great job, adopt it and do it yourself. We've continued to press this on our schools. There's a reason why we've got all these parents excited about this option. It's a reason why we wanted more patriotism in the state standards for every public school. This is what parents are asking for. And so again, I would encourage every school to look at what parents are asking for, make sure that we're meeting the needs of the parents, and the education system will be better because of it.
Superintendent Walters, and I do support, as a grandparent, as a parent who had kids in school, I support as many choices as available. My only question is, this partnership agreement, does it have any financial commitment from the state of Oklahoma to this institution?
Not in any sense other than your tax credit would be eligible for this school. That's, again, they can come and compete, and if parents want to go to the school, then that money would follow the child, but they will have to, the parents would have to sign up for this.
Yeah, and forgive my ignorance, but the tax credit, the parent would pay and then get a tax credit. So the only commitment would be from a parent writing a check to the school seeking a tax credit on their tax return.
Correct. Now, I will say, this is getting in the weeds a little bit, but I'll try to explain it. When a parent signs up for the school will then reach out, tax commission, this kid's going to school here, here's the tuition. So there is a way the tax credit itself goes directly to the school to pay for the tuition. But yes, sir, functionally, I don't disagree with what you said. The parent would sign up, the parent would then enter into an agreement of paying tuition or tax credit, and then that's how that would functionally work.
Yep. Thank you.
Flip side of that question is, does that school or has that school paid any money into any entity in the state or anything here to be recognized as a school in this estate?
Yeah, I mean, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Right. I mean, they don't have to, but yeah, I mean, I don't, yeah. Okay, that's all I had for kind of updates here to get us started. Let me flip over here to, hold on, let me get here in my notebook. That's the list. I just want these somewhere in here. For administrative action, so we do have a discussion and possible action on the minutes of June 26th meeting. Should be under 4 here. So entertain any discussion or motions of any actions regarding the minutes of the 26th meeting.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes from the June board meeting.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Jennifer, do you mind calling roll for me?
Vandenhen? Yes. Etheridge?
Here. Yes, sorry. Still here.
Carson?
Yes.
Penny?
Yes.
Superintendent Walters?
Yes. Motion passes. Now let's take a look at item 5, the consent docket. Again, anything on a consent docket, we put those together just for ease of a vote. I'm unaware, anybody want anything pulled off of this before the board meeting? Okay.
I've not heard anything.
But if you want to pull something off at this moment, we could vote on the rest. I mean, we can pull off as many or as few as you want, but just to be clear, I mean, it's just organized that way. Feel free to pull something off if there's any questions that we want to discuss separately. So just want you to be aware of, doesn't have to be one vote for the whole thing. We can separate them out if need be.
Okay, I have some questions, but first let me say I'm very pleased that we have recruited 4,000 new teachers to our state. That is encouraging. You know, I sometimes say this is the ditch I'm going to die in, and this emergency certificate may be one. I can speak for, I know, the 4 people that are present today on this board, that we take this job very seriously. We're going to do our due diligence and researching, and most importantly, we're going to ask questions when we don't understand something.
Absolutely.
And that is the basis for asking questions, is we want to understand. We want to know more. And so, you know, we're looking at close to 500 emergency certificates for today. And so, you know, I've asked some questions before, but I wanted to really know kind of the ins and outs of how this process works. So I kind of did some research, and then that led me to some questions that I'll ask. And I'm sorry, it's Jennifer, is that correct? I believe you work in accreditation. You may be able to answer these a little more as well. So please chime in. It's my understanding that in order to apply for an emergency certificate, that the district has to document substantial efforts to employ a teacher with a non-emergency certificate. Okay, so a certified teacher. If they can't do that, then they have to document their efforts to employ an individual with a non-emergency certificate in another area. Okay, so am I correct on both those? That's correct? Okay. And then only after those 2 efforts can they hire someone who meets the minimum standard. And so the minimum standard is you have to have a degree, and then you possibly go through a background check. It can't be one for special education, and I believe that early childhood and elementary must be specific in the grades that they are identifying for those positions. So when I looked up the document, it is available on the State Department's website. It looks like when the district is asked this question, to provide documentation, it's really not providing documentation. Like, they don't upload this documentation showing their postings or job fairs they went to. Basically, it looks like to me that it's a yes or no question. Did you make all due diligence in trying to fill this position with a certified teacher? And so also under that if you are requesting a new emergency certificate for pre-K through 3rd, you are required to complete training through the State Department or equivalent of that training. So all those correct?
Yes, all those are correct.
That's all okay. So here are my questions and maybe my concerns. What processes are in place to make sure that these things are happening? When it says substantial efforts, so how are we, rather than just documenting, yes, we did or no, we didn't, are they having, because that's all I saw,
Yes.
are they having to provide documentation that shows we had this posted for 8 weeks, no one applied?
Great. That's a great question. And yes, in their accreditation with their local RAO, that's where they are providing that documentation. Now, we are happy to I can show you what that looks like. If we want to have a conversation about it being more onerous, we can. But that is where they turn over to us when we go in and go, you had how many, so what was the process to get here? But yes, but it is, to your point, it is, you tell us how long it was posted. That's a piece of evidence. You show us that you went to a job fair or had a job fair. Those are exactly the type of requirements that we have.
Okay. So I guess my question was, what processes are in place to ensure that these things are happening, and who oversees that?
Yeah, great question. So that is, sorry, I'm keeping this too close. In the accreditation process, what we try to do is, again, we have a local RAO, regional accrediting officer, that works with the schools directly, that they provide that documentation over. And again, this is where there's that back and forth that goes on all year of, hey, we need more of this, need more of that before we present this to the board. So that's the process in which they go through. So each district, it depends, we have RAOs that cover May just depend. Some of them, depending on the size of the districts, have a few districts. Some of them have, 40 districts. So it depends on who that local RAO is, that then they provide the information, they kick it up to the accreditation team, and then we ultimately decide, is this enough? Is it not? Then we'll present you with our findings of, and again, it's a back and forth. So I want y'all to know that it's not, when we do accreditation, it's not a surprise. If we don't find the evidence, we meet with the districts and go, can you not provide it? And sometimes, frankly, there is a decent reason. There have been situations where I can understand that. So we bring it to you with those circumstantial evidences to go, they didn't provide this, but here's why. We feel like they've made a good faith effort to get it. So that's where that kind of comes to ultimately a decision, but to this board of, did they meet that standard or not?
Okay, and I think at the very first board meeting, I asked, how are we ensuring that they are making progress to earning that certificate? And I believe it was stated that we leave that up to the local district. But what I found was it says on the site that the teacher has to provide a portfolio of work and evidence of progress that they're working toward that certificate or that degree. And then the district has to provide to the State Department the reason why they are asking again for the third time. So on their first and second request, that's kind of just a
Sure.
given. But on that third request, they have to provide that information.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I have two concerns here. One, I think we need some rules in place, and I don't know the term for it, standards, rules, a bill that states that, because right now, the way that the law is written, it is a law, that says they can actually apply as many times as they want for this certificate. It says 3, I believe it says 3+. So that's concerning to me because we can just keep applying for those emergency certificates and not making the effort to actually fill that with a certified position. So I don't know, I need to request it, how we go about that process, but I think that needs to be written somehow to say that we are limited to this to so many years. And I went through, and there are pages, like I said, we're looking at almost 500 today. I went through the first 30 schools. Went to their website, looked at their job postings. Some of them were very difficult to even find the place to find their job postings. And very few of them, in a state where we're in a teacher shortage, very few of them had any postings at all, let alone the postings that they're asking for emergency certificates. It's my opinion, and only my opinion, that I believe until this board has granted you that emergency certificate okay, that job should still be posted until we've given you that okay. And it is not. Out of the 30 schools that I went to their websites and researched their job postings, 2 of them still had the position posted. That's concerning to me.
So I'll say a few things to that. I don't have any kind of fundamental disagreement with anything you said. What I would say is, and we can take a first run at a draft of a rule and we can start kicking it around. But I do want to, I'll take a step back, give a little further context. I think in the past, and this predates me, but I think a lot of the thought process around emergency certs was for districts that didn't find a position, striking the balance of, we want to make sure that these individuals are working towards a certificate. We want to make sure districts are following through, while at the same time not being overly onerous to the district. So I'm just not taking a position, just kind of walking through. I think there's a line, and I mean, again, I think it's a great conversation to have and for us to discuss. Where is that line? Do we need to go a little further to make sure that these things are being done? I think that's a worthwhile conversation. I also think one of the things that, and it happens to me, frankly, fairly often, I'll go to a district and, hey, show me, who's a teacher doing something exciting? Or who's a teacher that's really knocking it out of the park? I'm amazed how many times I get, you're not going to believe it, but this is an emergency certified teacher. So, I've got, and those are anecdotes, but, it is funny how many times that happens. So I do want to be careful I don't want to close doors for people that are passionate about teaching, that have a good content knowledge. But I don't, I think it's a worthwhile conversation. Again, we can take a first run at it and just start looking at the language. And then again, that would be, and just to be clear, that would be a rule that we would vote on that then would go to the legislature.
Right,
And I will
okay.
tell you, the legislature, I mean, legislature, there's a lot of members in the legislature, so there'll be a lot of different opinions. But I hope I've contextualized that well of, I think you'll have some that'll be concerned that it could make it really difficult to get emergency certs through quickly. But then I think you'd have some that would look at, frankly, the argument you just made and say, yeah, there may be additional requirements needed. So what, I mean, and again, any further discussion or anything even after the meeting, but we can start drafting something now to then go back and we can look at that multiple times to see, would this be an appropriate measure? Do we think it would strike a right balance? And again, remember, once we do that too, there's is it 60 days public comment? Or 30 days? We can blast it out and get a lot of feedback too and see kind of, from the district perspective, what that would look like. So there's a lot we could do, but I mean, I think that's a worthwhile.
Well, I would definitely be interested in doing that. I'm glad you brought up content area. Right now, it just says they have to have a degree in anything. And I think I brought this up at the very first board meeting. I don't have as much concern if a person has a education background. I have a little more concern when it's just a degree, but at least it's in their content area. My concern is, and there's not anybody on the list that has this, but you have your degree in basket weaving and you want to teach high school chemistry. Okay, I mean, that's an extreme, but it's not too far off. Okay, and so that's concerning to me. I have one particular school, I'm not going to name them, that they have 27 schools in their district. I'll go ahead and say that they're in the top 6 of schools of number of students. 10% of their 10% of their staff is made up of non-certified teachers. That's a great number. Another one, and this one is very concerning to me, small school. They're asking for 11 emergency certificates today. They have 4 schools, a total of 27 teachers. That's 41% of their staff. That should be alarming.
I appreciate your taking the time to do this research. We've got a bulldog here with us, I think, and I appreciate that. But it's a hard call, as you said. I know of schools that are, hey, we're 3 weeks out from school starting. We still need 5-10% of our staff. We've got to get them. I know that's a hard call. We've discussed a little bit before. Some of these people are in here 4th, 5th, 6th time. That bothers me. If they're that enthusiastic about education, I mean, I've got a degree. I got my master's in education while I was teaching. I know if I can do it, it's not a huge hurdle. And some of these folks can do that. And if they're not doing that, that bothers me. And maybe there ought to be a limit on the number of times you can do this. And again, I know it goes back. Schools are having a hard time finding teachers. So, tough call. Maybe there's something we can enact, a rule or a statute that says, okay, you can only do this 4 times or 3 times or something. It would be what I would propose.
And Superintendent Walters, I think we've had this conversation in the past. I don't remember the exact outcome of it, but I'm going to be an opponent of if these educators need help in going back to school financially. I think the school district should have some of the ownership in that. I think the individual should have some ownership in that. But if the state can figure out a way to help, either through some kind of grant, and I think we've said there are things out there that are available, but I don't know. I question it. How much of these school districts actually know that's available? And I have no idea of knowing that, and I don't know of one that said, "Oh, I didn't know that." I'm not saying that. What I am saying is, can we make sure that we're telling that story so that we can help these school districts and the educators that are saying, "Hey, I'm going to show up, even though it's an emergency certificate," because I do know, I mean, I am tickled to death that we got 4,000, but man, I would love for us to sit here next year and say we got another 4,000, and that came from this emergency certification.
And look, I think you make a great point, and I said this last time, and I had several college presidents text me and go, well, we got a similar, so I always forget some, but one of the reasons we launched teachok.org was to have it all in one spot that we could then push out. And again, happy to continue to do that and push that out because again, frankly, the legislature's passed a lot of incentive measures. Our local colleges and universities, they do a lot to I mean, they really do. They do a lot to say, if you've got X amount of hours, we can get you in an accelerated program. So we do have several programs. Again, I don't want to leave one out, but we have several programs. We can continue to promote that. And what we can do also is not only send, and this is part of the, I mean, I'm just broadening it out even more, but, you know, one of the things that we try to do is we've got, when we blast out information to the teachers, a lot of times the certified teachers are not on that list. And so that's another problem is getting directly information to them. But we can continue to go to the districts too to say, here, this is for you, but also, you know, forward this to every teacher, para in your, because the other thing is we've seen a lot of universities do this as well, getting paraprofessionals certified. So then you start this, and we've been working with several of the last few years on this. If you can get people from para to the classroom, then you start filling the para positions. You kind of have your own, build your own model, which we've promoted several districts that have really invested in that as well. Hey, go recruit people as they are working towards a degree, put them in the para role. Let's get your paras certified if they want to. Not all paras want to, but if they want to move into a classroom, and that's a good pipeline that you can really develop out. But it's very similar with the emergency cert as well. We don't need to sit back and say we're emergency certified, so you know we got the position filled. Let's keep moving that forward. So I agree, and we can continue to push and find more ways to push that information out because like you said, there are a lot of great programs out there. It's a matter of getting the word out on a lot of it. And look, and it might even be something to the argument of, and we need to further incentivize districts or hold them more accountable to do that, to follow through on these things.
I see this program and this rule that we're talking about possibly working hand in hand to get them motivated to, not to say that they're not motivated, but another tool to get this done.
Well, and frankly, it gives them the ability to go to the teachers and go, hey, you have to do this. I mean, you can't, I mean, you know, there's not really an option at all. You're going to have to do this. And again, we can continue to look at, and again, I think that when you look at, we finally reversed this trend of, we're getting, for the first year, having more teachers in College of Ed programs than we've had the last several years. But colleges of ed are looking, how do we get more people into our program? So again, I think those type of partnerships are very helpful. And again, as we get those partnerships, continue to make sure as many people know about them as possible and are utilizing them, I think would be very beneficial.
Yeah, Superintendent Walters, I appreciate this conversation. I can't imagine anybody that's listening to it, either in this room or via broadcast, is not concerned about this situation. I think one of the issues, and you mentioned our higher ed institutions who really play a pivotal role in this because you can't get that degree without them. Having spent 4 years in that area, I'm keenly aware that we don't do as good a job as we could as a state getting all that information out there. So I would just encourage the Department of Education to work very closely with the state, the legislative piece, and the higher ed institutions to coordinate those activities because a lot of these emergency certified are in the rural districts, and a lot of them, as you mentioned, are paras that are working, and so the only outlet they have are some of our regional universities that are spread around the state. So two-thirds of our minted teachers each year come from regional universities. So we've got to just get our arms around this whole thing because nobody disagrees that it's a problem. I think we're shotgunning our solutions, and that's not pointing fingers at anybody. It's just saying everybody has a mission and they're on their mission. But if we all got them together, we could maybe do more. And I think encouraging our local districts to press on that, yeah, we can certify you once, twice, but if you're not making progress, you're going to have to do something else. So, and quite likely there's money out there that we're leaving on the table because we're not working. And when I say we, I'm saying the state, not the department. We're not working this as hard and diligently as we could.
Then I'll just make one last comment. I received an email from a current certified teacher. She would not divulge what district she was from because she was afraid of retaliation for it. But her daughter just graduated. She's applied to multiple schools in the area and has not gotten one offer. I don't know the individual. There could be other substantial information of why she's not being. But when they go back and they check to see who has filled, so I'm assuming it's a small district and they can kind of check these things, is that when they go back and they look and see who was hired for the same position that she applied for as a certified teacher, it's been given to a non-certified individual. And she said in most cases, it's because they need somebody to coach, and those people are willing to coach. I'm probably going to make some coaches' friends mad when I make this statement, but we have one particular school that when you go to their job listings, it says high school wrestling coach, and underneath it, it says with teaching. Today it came out, well, I don't know if it was today, but it was recently, we're now 50th in the state. And if we make high school wrestling coach the priority and not the teaching position, we're staying at 50th in the state.
So I will say this, and I know you're not wanting to like name them all right now, but what I will tell you is situations like that, that's exactly, if you flag that for us, that gives us the ability to go in and go, all right, why was this position given here when we got, somebody said they applied for it. So, we're happy to dig into that, but listen, that is skirting, look, there's statute here, there's rules here, so that is skirting at least the spirit of that. So, look, we're happy to look into that, but again, we've got to get the best folks in the classroom. We've got a lot of great folks here. We've got a lot of great folks returning to the classroom. And so, yeah, I completely agree, and we're happy to dig into any of those specific situations as well.
And I don't want to say there isn't any importance in organized sports. I think they have a value that they give to young men and women. But we got to make some priorities.
Look, I'm a former coach. I get it. Athletics are great. They're awesome. They teach a lot of life lessons. But, yeah, we've got to keep our eye on academics. Now, I know that you've said a lot there about
I wanted to come in here today and vote all no. I really did.
Okay.
But in lieu of the fact that we start school in, some districts in 3 weeks, I'm willing to vote yes with the motion that we will look at writing some rules to make those changes. But we do have 5 schools on the list which shouldn't be on there because they are asking for the library media specialist certificate, and you can't do an emergency certificate for that. You can ask for a waiver, but you can't ask for an emergency certificate.
Let's make sure that there's not a reason, though, that they may need.
Okay.
And I don't know, Jennifer,
want
if you would
names?
have this handy.
You need names?
If we could, because there could be a situation on coding here of why they would have done it. So I just want to make sure. But we're happy to.
I don't want to blanket vote yes for everybody if we need to remove
Will
it.
you? Could we go down through that list and just? And if we want to even kick this to the end, I can have them upstairs just run it and make sure there's not a situation where they may need a certified. There could be, you know what I mean, Jennifer? I know we've had to do something like that before. So, or if you want to even write them down, we can have them.
I have them here. You just want them.
Okay.
Duncan, Lawton, Newcastle is asking for 2, Norman, and Salisaw.
We'll give you this list.
Salisaw. And Newcastle's asking for 2.
Will you give her the list real quick, and we'll have her run it upstairs. And do y'all just want to come back? Can we just come back to this item then, and we can get that for you guys real quick? Okay. I don't think that should take long, but I just want to make sure before we do that. Thank you. Okay. So we just don't have to take an action. We can just sit on the consent docket for a little bit, can we? Okay. Okay, let's look at, if we're good, I'm not trying to we good to move on then to the next one? We'll come back to it. Accreditation standards, these are for abbreviated school days for alt ed programs. I've checked this morning. As far as I know, none of these districts are here. If people hear me in the hall, if anybody's here, they didn't tell us, but if they are here, happy to have you guys come up and talk, but I don't think we have anybody.
Before we look at this, I know I'm doing a lot of talking today, I'm sorry, but before we look at accreditation, I wanted to ask some questions about something that was in the media, which is under accreditation. You're aware that the media received the resignation letter of the State Department's Chief Compliance Officer. In her letter, and I'm just taking this all word for word off of a media site. In her letter, she raises concerns of fundamental operational issues at the agency that alleges significant challenges, including manipulation of school accreditation, and those things are hindering the Education Department from achieving better outcomes for students. So, number one, it's obvious, but I'm going to ask the obvious. Are you aware of this letter that got sent
Yes.
to the media? Okay. Are there standardized accreditation processes that every school that's accredited is put through the same process?
Yes.
Okay. First question. Who reviews those processes?
We have several layers of accountability there through the accreditation team that starts with the RAOs, then works their way up through the accreditation team, which then ultimately goes to me and my senior staff, that then we make a recommendation on that comes to you all. So there's several layers there, but it starts with the local RAO, runs through the department, the accreditation office, then goes to my senior staff, then we sit down with you all and say, here's all the documentation, and we walk through that.
Okay. Are there ever changes made after this information is entered into the system before it gets to us? So all the documentation you need, all the numbers is entered, this is my understanding, it's entered into the system for the accreditation system, and then it comes to us for approval. Is there
Right.
ever a time where once that's entered, it's altered before it comes to us? Or changed?
So the accreditation process is ongoing until it comes to you all. I mean, just for an example, the last time we got accreditation before the board, we had superintendents in here meeting with us a few days before to go, do you really not have any of this? Is there no more documentation? So right up until, I mean, our goal is to get everybody fully accredited. That is our goal. So we work with districts to get them to that point, all the way up until we present it to you all. So when it comes to me, just to walk you through kind of my internal process, when they show me a list of who didn't do what, they then show me what they did with those districts to get them there. And then sometimes I go, bring them in, let's talk to them. I don't understand why, like, this seems pretty straightforward. Like, do we really need to present a downgrading of accreditation here? So it just depends on the issue. But, I mean, before it comes up to you all, this isn't constant. We are trying to get them to the accreditation point. Now, once it comes to you all, nothing changes. But, I mean, the process is constantly trying to get the information from districts, working with the districts. I mean, there's sometimes half a dozen meetings with a district, even with senior staff, to try to help them get there. And again, I think you can talk to districts. I think it's a very collaborative process. Look, if they don't meet a rule or they don't meet a law, we're going to hold them accountable for that. But the goal is to bring them into compliance. So, I mean, the changing of things, it's not changing what they've presented. It is asking for documentation. Hey, look, this isn't exactly what you need, but if you give us that information, I can then present it to the board and say, well, they don't have A, but they did give us B and C. So it's frankly, I mean, we presented this last year. They've already corrected the problem. So they didn't do it. Here's why. So, I mean, there's not a changing of information. There may be a gathering of more information to present to you all.
Okay. With the four of us being new, when should we as a board expect to see accreditations for schools on the agenda? On the possibility for the agenda for next month? What are we looking at?
It will not be on the agenda for next month. So we're looking at in August, potentially at the earliest.
Well, that is next August.
I'm sorry. Yes, it would not be next month. It would be the following month. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then one last thing, in the media, in her resignation letter, it says it's addressed to you as the superintendent, but also to the school board. and we did not receive that letter. So as the board, we want to ensure that we're receiving all correspondence, including resignations that are, at least the ones that are addressed to us.
The question is, do you want resignation letters? Is that what you just said?
If it's addressed to us. It was stated in the media that the letter was addressed to you as the superintendent, but we were also addressed as the board, and we never received her resignation letter.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to look at that. I'm going to tell you, the fake news puts a lot of garbage out there, so I'll look at that and make sure that's what actually is in there. But listen, I will tell you all, my position on personnel has always been, I don't comment on it publicly. I'm happy to talk broadly about the way we do personnel decisions here, but I would prefer we can talk, we can have those kind of conversations about any kind of issues there, but I try not to air kind of those personnel
Well, and
matters.
that was not the purpose of my question. It was more to address the concerns in her letter and the fact that it was addressed to us and we didn't get it. I don't need to know anything about her personally or why she was, why she resigned.
Sure. Well, I'll take a look at it. I don't know who it was addressed to, but happy to look at that.
Thank you.
Okay. So, and by the way, we would vote separately on these, A, B,
You could do it all.
or we could do it all together.
Just make sure.
No, we need to separate it
Yes, we
because
have-
we need to look at library media.
Okay. So, any other discussion or actions on item 6? 6A? Yeah, because we have an action
I
by
think
each one.
we tabled that last month for the 3 districts because I think we wanted to, questions answered if their school board had supported that decision.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Will you explain to her about the Purcell one? That's a little unique. Or Hilton.
Yes, Ms. Carson. So just to be clear on the agenda, the 6A are the 3 that were tabled from last month for the documents. And then Purcell, which is number 4, is new to this month. And then I added, we added because if you'll see in the packets we received, Helton's in there again, but I just want to be clear that it's the same. They just wanted to put it in again, just to be on the safe side. So, essentially, I don't know if that answers your question, but essentially they're all the same issue. It's just the first 3 were from June, and then Purcell is new.
Right. So I guess our question was, did we get that information, whether their local boards supported their decision?
Whatever was in the online that you received, was it Monday night?
I didn't see anything.
I didn't.
Then that was it. That was all. If they sent us.
And it wouldn't be the first time I'm confused, but so in 6A, there's a letter from the superintendent with Newcastle, Hilton, and Piedmont. And when I turn the page, I see a document for Newcastle where I see the board president has signed that, and I see a letter from the superintendent.
I think I understand that maybe this is the confusion. On each one of these sections, there's a document, and it says memorandum from Ryan Walters to, that is a memorandum that our department gives to the superintendent. And so then, like, for example, on that top one, it says McLean Newcastle. So you'll see that the first, I think it's about maybe 4 pages, are McLean. That is what they submitted, Newcastle in McLean County. So the top page you'll see is just the actual form that they have to fill out with us.
Right.
The next page is a letter from their superintendent explaining. And then the rest of that is the ABC is everything that they have to fill out in support. And so that's 2 more pages. And then you'll see the Helton one.
So my understanding is this top page, which has the signatures, is notarized, has the signature of the principal, the superintendent, and the board president and is notarized,
Yes, sir.
indicating that they are making this application.
Yes, and so it all comes to, I understand now. It all comes together, essentially. Like that
Right.
whole thing that you're seeing is the application until you get to the next page that looks like that.
Yeah, and so, and I mean, either I'm clear or I'm totally lost. So on Newcastle, I see that. On Healton, I see that. And on Piedmont, I see that all three of those principals or whomever from the school, superintendent, as well as the board, has signed off that they are in agreement with these requests.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
So- okay. Oh, and just to clarify too, there'll be a second memorandum after
Yeah.
Piedmont, just because those were the July submissions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it
Yes.
makes sense.
Okay.
Superintendent Walters, may I do a point of order of the room? There's a few of us in here that are wearing jackets, trying to be professional by wearing a suit jacket. Do you think there's a possibility we could have someone take a look at the air conditioning, see if we could turn that down just a little bit for us, please?
We'll warn you, it's a government building, but we will do our best.
Thank you.
Get the AC
Thank you. Thank you,
Bring
Superintendent
down.
Walters.
Yes, sir.
And this is probably a good time to say this. We wanted to thank you for getting us those documents in a timely manner and ensuring that, Superintendent, that we got those in a timely manner to be able to do some research sooner than 24 hours. So thank you. So I'm okay making a motion to accept all. Okay, awesome. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I make a motion to accept 6A.
We have a motion.
I second.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Jennifer, do you mind calling roll?
Vanderham,
Yes.
Jethridge,
Yes.
Carson,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Superintendent Walters.
Yes. Motion passes. Now, we can move to 6B. Was this the one that you had? No, that's the next one. Okay. So this is the library media certification waiver.
This is my second ditch. I'm going to tie in, I guess is what we might say. This is kind of the same issue with the process of how they have to go about this. We tabled these there are some additions this month, but we tabled these from last month just so that we could have the time to gather some more information. And I contacted every superintendent on that list via phone or email. And the 4 questions that I posed to them were, what efforts have you made to fill this with a certified teacher? Have you requested assistance from the Oklahoma Library Association to help with recruitment? Because we were contacted by that organization and told that that is something that they can assist with. And if you are using certified personnel on their planning periods, is it going to be voluntary, required, and will they be compensated? And how are you going to ensure that the standards are being addressed? And so in saying that, I'll give you some research that the Oklahoma Library Association shared with us, is that research consistently shows that students benefit when there is a certified school librarian as part of the school team. There's actually been research done, several research that students are 3 times more likely to score advanced in writing and 8% more in reading when there is a certified librarian on premises, especially in those areas, and these are the areas that we're most concerned about, are in where we are serving those unserviced populations. Again, research their websites. Only one had a posting for this position. So same questions, is that should still be posted until I've given you an okay on that waiver. I got varying answers of things they've done. One is, some of them kind of skirted the question. I got varying answers like, well, we've asked for it for several years, and so we're asking for it again because it allows us to use money in other places to reduce class size. Have you requested assistance? None of them knew that was available. The one school that said they were going to use certified personnel did not respond. That they would ensure the standards were addressed via the people that they were putting in place and with trainings from people they had librarians in their community that were retired, certified, that they were willing to come in and assist them. They have people that were probably maybe now in an English high school position that were certified and would volunteer to come in and assist this person. So I feel a little more comfortable with those. It's still concerning, just like the emergency certificates. The one school district, I said, I almost want to either vote no or table it, just because I want to hear how she's working those certified teachers. Are they going to be required? And are you compensating them for it? So I kind of I'm okay with all of them, but maybe that one holding off on. Several of them I was okay with their plan. The new ones I did not, was not able to even though we got them early, they're trying to get school started. And so I believe there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new ones. Adair was on there twice. So instead of 20, I believe there are 19. And so I would like to go ahead, I would make a motion that we approve the emergency certificates for all of them that were on the June agenda, minus New Lima, I'll just have to say the name, who has not gotten back with me. Table that one until I get a response. And possibly tabling the new. I would ask how my other board members feel about tabling the new, since we haven't, we're getting close to school starting. I understand that. I feel like sometimes we're in a catch-22 here, that you want to vote no, but you also don't want to do, because I don't believe that emergency certificates or non-certified people are what's best for kids. And I've said this to you before, I'm always going to vote for what's best for kids. If it's not good for kids, I'm voting no. And so my heart tells me to vote no. But I also understand that we're starting school, and I don't want an empty position sitting there available.
Superintendent Walters. Going in line with
The one that's on there twice.
Board Member Carson, is it possible that if we were to approve the ones from last month, minus the one that we said we would table, and the others that were new this time, is there if we did a temporary approval, or is it just all or none? Instead, that would give her time to go back and do her research, and I just didn't know if that way they could at least make some movement.
You can help.
May I make a comment that might be able to help? And this is in the email that I sent you all last night. I had addressed that some of it are personnel and some of it are the services themselves. And I think this might clarify. So in the and numbers 19 and 20, those are ones that are in the process of getting certified, which is why they wanted the waiver, if that's helpful for you.
So that would be New Lima, am I correct? The one that hasn't contacted me back?
Yes.
Okay, then I'm okay with that.
19 and 20,
Adair and Osage.
and then 10 and 11. Yes,
And then 10 and
yes. And the application isn't.
Okay.
Okay.
I saw their plan.
Okay, and then I want to clarify that Adair is in there twice because it's two different things. So this is that problem again. So they have one waiver that's the services and one waiver that's the actual personnel. And I think that's why it's a little bit confusing, which is why I think moving forward, it might be helpful for us to actually make that two different things. We wanted to keep it consistent from last time. But so if that helps you at all with your decision, I mean, I'm just offering that to let you know that at least in 10 and 11 and 19 and 20, they are in the process. And there is a reason for Adair being in there twice because technically it's two different waivers.
Let's make sure we do that in the future. I know it's under the same statute. We usually clump things into the same statute, so you can see we're asking for a waiver from that statute. But let's delineate so that way that'll be a little more clear that they're going to offer the services, not the personnel waiver.
Okay, so that would make us saying yes to 1 through 11, And then we have 12 through 18 that we don't know their plan. And so I guess the question was posed by Mr. Deathridge that asked, is that something we can do temporarily? Can we give them temporary approval in lieu of them responding to what their plan is?
Do either of you attorneys, is there a mechanism to do that?
I mean, I'd have to look at the statute. I mean, it seems to me that we've got to stay within the boundaries of whatever's permitted, and I think it's a light switch, it's on or it's off. I don't think that we can craft.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I don't think we can craft our own remedy outside of those parameters.
Let me ask one further question. If we were to delay that a month, what would you guys, how onerous would that be to the district? I'm just trying to think about. Would it affect a hiring at this point, or do you think it would not?
Well, just again, off the top of my head, it would be close, given that the next board meeting is probably within or right around the same exact time.
I will tell you what we could do, attorneys, I think, is we could pass it, but then require them to submit a plan to us. You know, and then we could say, we're approving it, but provide document, and frankly, we can take your email. Most of the time, and I don't know this for sure, but I want to say they have a new superintendent. I'm not positive about that. So there could be a little bit of that as why they didn't get back to you, but we can check into that. But usually they're very good now they'll give you feed. I mean, they know that.
No, they did, and they did it very quickly.
Sure.
So I was pleased with most of them. Some of them called me personally. Something several of us have found is that they're very excited to talk to us. Their comments have been, "You're the first board member that has ever reached out to me in my entire superintendent career." So, so they're excited to talk. They're excited for us to come and see their schools and see what they're doing. So,
What were you going to say, Jennifer?
So we can do that. You just need to be very specific in your motion language for the minutes purposes so that we can hold them accountable for that. So when you make the motion, just be very specific that you're requesting that information so that we can hold them for that.
so you're saying something like giving them a deadline. So make a motion to approve their request for waiver for emergency, or not emergency, but for library media specialist. But pending documentation provided of your plan.
May I interrupt just a
Oh, yeah.
But the way I see it is, if I'm listening to it correctly, there are 3 baskets, so why don't we take them in their 3 baskets, okay? Oh,
I think we're down to 2 baskets though, because we're good with New Lima because you said they're in the process.
So can we identify the 2 baskets by numbers on this agenda?
I think we can differentiate by saying the June request. Can we do that?
Can we just number, are they?
Oh, 1 through, yeah, we can do 1 through 11. So I make a motion to accept the waiver for library media certification for schools 1 through 11 on item 6B.
I would second.
So we are approving 1 through 11, correct? That's right, okay. We have a motion, a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, Jennifer, do you mind calling roll for us?
Vandehen,
Yes.
Deathridge,
Yes.
Carson,
Yes.
Tenney,
Yes.
Superintendent Walters.
Yes. Okay. First motion passes.
I make a motion that we accept the waiver for schools 12 through 20, 12 through 18, all of 12 through 20, 12 through 20, pending documentation of their plan within 10 days.
Yeah.
I'll second that, but I have
Yes, sir.
the way she's.
That's my understanding.
Assuming they'd be back on the next board meeting either to pass it or not pass it. They didn't.
Yeah, I mean, It would be, it would not apply to them, correct? So then they could come back if they want to, but it would,
Okay.
right? Would that vote do that? Okay.
Sorry, 19 and 20 are personnel, so that is, you'll see in there that they've enrolled in higher ed to receive their certification. So
So we need to say,
19 and 20 will need to be a different
okay.
motion.
So
because
12
that's
through
where-
18.
Yes,
That's
ma'am,
what,
sorry
okay.
for the confusion.
That's okay. So do I need to redo the motion?
Just, we can do the motion with correction.
Okay.
All right, Jennifer, I lost track. Do we have a motion and a second on the board?
Motion, second.
I think so. And then you've got the corrected number in there?
Okay, so now we do need to do 19 and 20.
Well, hold on, we need to vote. Let's vote first.
Oh, okay.
Any further discussion? Jennifer, can you call roll for us?
Vandehem,
Yes.
Dethridge,
Yes.
Carson,
Yes.
Yes.
Tenney, Superintendent Walters.
Yes, motion passes. Okay. So then the last one it needs to be an approval for 19 and 20, correct? Okay.
I make a motion that we accept the waiver for library media certification for Adair and Osage Hills.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. Jennifer, can you call roll for us?
Vandehem,
Yes.
Dethridge,
Yes.
Carson,
I'm going to let you.
Yes.
Tenney,
Yes.
Superintendent Walters.
Yes. As we move to C, I'm going to have Jackie explain a little situation here for us on why we might be making a recommendation slightly different. Go ahead and explain.
So, as you can see, these are the statutory waivers concerning cooperative agreements for alternative education. It was brought to my attention literally this morning that the waiver that they have a student who is in their letter, and I apologize, I'm skipping ahead. It's literally the page right before the actual tab 7, if you want to take a look at that. So they state in that letter that they have a student who has expressed interest, and statutorily, by the plain language of the statute that they cite, and it's subsection F, and I can provide that to you later, if there is a student who's interested, a school district has to provide the alternative ed cooperation. So I obviously can't tell you how to vote, but I have a concern that there might be a legal concern with approving that one at this time. Mr. Cutmas might want to add to that, but it is my belief that we actually cannot do that. Am I allowed to say that? Just by statute, the language of the statute's pretty clear that if there is a student who is expressed interest in alternative education, that the district shall provide, which is kind of the point of the co-op. If a district doesn't have funds, or if there's not enough numbers to do it, then they make these cooperative agreements to share those costs. But I just wanted to give you that for thought, for your consideration, for the purposes of discussion, just so you're fully aware.
Okay, so just to make sure. We believe that we should not approve Caney's because they have a student that wants to do the co-op. Okay. So I would recommend us approve 1 and 2, which, the district, it is in the letter here, well, we only have one. Well, so they did provide us the information, but technically that would make you ineligible by our best reading of statute, since there is a student that wants to cooperate.
And so their remedy would be to challenge your interpretation of the statute?
Yes, I would assume so. Yes.
Have they, and we're happy to work with them, and I'm trying to, I don't know off the top of my head of one that's close to. Well, okay, but tabling it's the same thing as voting no. And we're just going to vote yes on 1 and 2, right? Yeah, so same thing. Okay, will you
Superintendent
so
Walters.
they can hear you?
Sorry. So items 1 and 2, those are waivers of the co-op. So those districts are saying they have 10 or less students that are in alt-ed, but they do not want to enter into the co-op. They want to continue supporting those students themselves. The third one is basically citing that statute, but they're asking to waive their alt ed program, even though they have a student interested.
So they would still have, they would have multiple options here. If we said no, they would still have options. If they could provide the student alternative ed services.
You're
just in their own
supposed to
district.
go enter into a co-op.
So my understanding is your recommendation is yes on on Pawnee and Pushmataha and no on, I'm sorry, that's the counties, Pawnee and Clayton, yes, and Caney, no.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, I will make that motion. Was that clear enough for a motion? Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. Jennifer, you mind calling roll for us?
Vanderham,
Yes.
Dethridge,
Yes.
Carson,
Yes.
Keeney,
Yes.
Superintendent Walters.
Yes, motion passes. Next, this isn't an action item, but we want to provide you all an update. Jackie, you have this update, don't you? Okay. On 2 resolutions from the Oklahoma Advisory Council on American Indian Education.
So, as I'm sure you all are aware, Oklahoma passed the statute, which is 73-173, which created the Oklahoma Advisory Council on Indian Education. And we have here in the State Department of Education the Office of Indian Education. The Advisory Council is a board similar to this one. It's a bigger board, but it's made up of multiple different people from multiple different groups representing the indigenous native tribes. 38 federally recognized tribes, and we have 156,000 students that represent over 300 sovereign nations. So with that in mind, our Office of American Indian Education has worked with and partnered with the council since its inception now, and Jackie White, who is our wonderful liaison with them, works with them, and she is here today. And so they passed 2 resolutions that State Board of Education. And so the first of the 2 that you see is just a resolution from the council that is supporting and wholly the state, the department's level office on, Advisory Council. And so basically they are making their commitment to help our council provide education to keep that very, very important Native American heritage and allow our students access to that. And I think given Oklahoma's rich history and for better or worse and better, I think that's very important. And then the second resolution is on April 25th, 2019, the legislature passed and Governor Stitt signed into law 25 OS Section 90.12, which designated Columbus Day as also being Native American Day here in the state. The council and our own office here within the department have worked very hard to ensure that that is recognized through our schools, through their work that they do. And so the second resolution speaks to that, on just providing more information and more help and more resources and access to Native students in the public schools. So Ms. White from the office is here today. I'm sure that after the meeting, if anyone individually has any questions, she'd be glad to answer them on an individual basis. But I just wanted to present those to you and thank them for their work and thank the council for its work.
And we can get you the full list because you will know a lot of the names, but you'll see who was present there for the vote. So again, but we can give you the full names of everyone on the council, but they're constantly giving us input into whether it's standards, curriculum. They've actually provided a lot of help when it comes to curriculum, but we can give you guys the full list, but you're going to see folks represented from all over the state. And again, I think that you're probably going to know quite a few of the names on that list. Are there any questions on that for the moment? We just wanted to make sure that you guys saw that, and we can start liaisoning that relationship as we move forward. And as they bring recommendations, we'll bring them before you. A lot of times they're not for a vote. It's things like this where they have a resolution that we're just going to continue to move forward on and their input. But we'll make sure to keep you guys up to date. And in the future, there could be an action item with it, but we just want to keep you guys up to speed with the work that they're doing.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, will you come on up to the microphone then? And make sure it's on. I don't know if we've turned that on yet. There you go. Sure. Yeah. Can you push the button for us, Jackie, when it turns green there?
There you go.
There you go.
There was a law passed several years ago by the legislature, House Bill 1104. And when it was passed, the infrastructure here at the State Department wasn't capable of doing an accurate child count in Oklahoma. And we knew in Oklahoma we had more Native students than anyone in the United States. And especially because we have so many of our natives who are two or more races. So in the resolution you have before you today, it talks about the 156,000. I will tell you, Superintendent Walters, I ran the count this last week, and it's 172,000 students in Oklahoma that are identifying themselves as Native American. The Bureau of Indian Education was here last week, and we're in the process of working with schools, making sure that we help those young people get their citizenship cards so that they benefit from their needs, whether it's for the student, the families, food, clothing, or whatever. But I will tell you other states are asking for our bills so that they can build a baseline. But that's a big difference, but I'm real pleased. But the data team here at the State Department is amazing. They're good.
Well, thank you, Jackie. You do a great job, and we appreciate all the work that the Indian Council's doing. Thank you.
Can I turn this off?
Yeah, yes, please. She does. She's giving me a hard time. All right. Next, we have legal services. Mr. Cutmus, I believe all of this would require executive session. Is that correct?
Yeah, just briefly, we do have an appeal of a transfer denial. And are there anybody present here today?
The district, I know. I don't know if, is the parent?
And from the student?
The parent, okay. Yep.
And just so everybody knows, since we've had juveniles and, privacy concerns and things like that, what we're going to do is we'll go back into executive session. We've got some things to do, and then we'll call you back individually. You'll get 5 minutes to speak, and then they'll continue to discuss the matter. No votes will be taken back there, and then we'll come back out on the record, and you'll see the vote that way, okay?
So we would bring them into executive session?
Yes.
For the comments cut? Individually. Got it.
Correct.
Okay. We do need a motion to go into executive session, though.
So moved.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Jennifer, you mind calling roll for us?
Vandenham,
Yes.
Deathridge,
Yes.
Carson,
Yes.
Kenny,
Yes.
Superintendent Walters.
Yes. Okay. We'll go into executive session.